Our Mrs. Reynolds comes directly after our last review, so let's jump in. We start off with some local hoodlums trying to shake down some humble traders, only they're not traders, and definitely not humble. Yep, our big damn heroes are posing as humble travelers to draw out these hoodlums, and when they try to fight, blast them but good. So pleased are the people, there's a big celebration that night. A drunken Jane is overwhelmed to receive a branch that makes the sound of the rain when it's turned. Cool. I have an app that does something similar to help drown out my wife's snoring. During the celebration, Mal gets a flower headdress, and a girl dances with him. Important for what happens after they depart, because Mal finds said girl in the cargo hold, who announces that she's his wife. Little advice, Mal. Get her a CPAP machine to make sure she doesn't snore. Upon hearing that Mal has a wife, Jane feels shortchanged, and Zoe is amused. She calls everyone down to look at his embarrassment, which naturally exacerbates the situation until Saffron, that's the new girl, is crying and people are trying to choose between laughing at Mal or shaming him for being so mean. Shepherd Book finally breaks out Simon's encyclopedia to say that everything that happened last night was a marriage ceremony, at least in the culture of the tree stick people. When Mal asks about divorce, she runs off upset, so he has to chase her down and try to console her, making clear he's not going to do anything horrible to her and she shouldn't put up with that kind of bullshit anyway. Still, he can't keep her. Having a wife is a big responsibility. You can't keep one just because she follows you home. So he's dropping her off on the next planet where there's plenty of choices for honest work. Which is good, especially with Shepherd Book around.
If you take sexual advantage of her, you're going to burn in a very special level of hell. A level they reserve for child molesters and people who talk at the theater.
But there's no special hell for fine cooking, so when Saffron cooks Mal dinner, he digs right in, much to Wash's envy and Zoe's annoyance. Let's be clear, his marriage is for laughing at, not for what he can get out of it. That's just called good manners.
If you're done with supper, would you like me to wash your feet?
No, who do you think you are, Jesus? Mal heads off to speak to Inara. It should be noted that during all of this, Inara has been unhappy with the arrangement. She was the only one whose reaction wasn't shock, but horror, and her tone to Mal is one of betrayal. When he pops in looking to hide and maybe get some advice, she's short with him, then insulting, and then back to short again. It's a brief ride, but it's very wild. Mr. Toad would be applauding if he saw it. Finished with that, Mal comes out of Inara's shuttle only to find Jane waiting for him with a very impressive weapon.
There's times I think you don't take me seriously.
Yeah, but only to your face. Jane explains about this fine piece of hardware, taken off one of a group of 6 men who came to kill him once. This is a Callahan full-bore autolock, he explains, and his favorite gun. But worth it to get his mitts on Christina Hendricks. For the curious, like many Firefly weapons, this is a modified real-world gun, an Ismash Sega 12 shotgun, originally modified to appear in the Robert De Niro-Eddie Murphy buddy comedy film Showtime. They gave it a few bells and whistles when they gave it to Jane, obviously. You're not going to trade just any old gun for Christina Hendricks.
What I got? She has a name.
So does this. I call it Vera.
Well, my days of not taking you seriously are certainly coming to a middle.
Trying to do the right thing is hard when everyone around you has strong feelings about what you should be doing. Saffron finally realizes that she needs to go, and during the talking, Mal reveals stuff about his background. His mother running a ranch, all the hands raising him. It really gets into the backstory stuff, until he realizes that he's spilling his backstory way too easily. And there might be a reason, because they're being watched. No, not the happy couple, the whole ship. There's a couple of would-be hijackers who have their eye on Serenity, and that's just awful. To think that they might try to take away our ship full of thieves. Wash talks with Zoe about how all the worlds have their own weird customs, but now that Saffron's servile attitude is getting noticed, she's becoming quite annoyed with her presence. And she unfairly blames Wash for not putting them back down, even though he'd explained at the time they couldn't because the authorities were all over the area looking for them, because one of the people killed during that whole bandit thing was connected. He didn't want this any more than Mal did.
I'm sorry, when we talked, I'd hoped, but I don't
Oh,
please
hey,
you.
Flesh.
Well, that might not be the right word. There's a difference between wanting something and having an intention to take something. There's a room that Shepherd Book made up for her, but she's here because of her wifely duties, even quoting the Bible, and not the easy stuff either. She knows all the dirty-sounding parts. Look, Solomon had like 1,000 wives. The man knew how to write the BC version of 50 Shades of Grey. But Mal sticks to his guns and says that whatever stupid ritual happened, they're not married, and he is not boning her, and she is not hearing it.
I seen my sister paired off with ugly men,
Hey.
vicious or blubberous,
Hey.
men with appetites too unseemly to speak of.
Hey!